The galaxy's dread, the mysterious signal emerges. The galaxy had known peace for centuries, but that peace was shattered when an unknown force began to spread across the stars. The once thriving planets of the galaxy trembled in fear as strange ships appeared, their dark, menacing shapes blocking out the stars. These ships were unlike anything anyone had ever seen, smooth, black, and silent, with weapons that could destroy entire fleets in a single shot. No one knew where they came from or who controlled them, but their intentions were clear. They were here to conquer. The first signs of trouble came when entire star systems went dark. Communications stopped. Ships vanished without a trace. Civilizations that had thrived for centuries were wiped out overnight. The galaxy's leaders gathered, desperate to understand what was happening, but they were powerless. The enemy seemed to appear out of nowhere and vanish just as quickly, leaving destruction in their wake. In the midst of this chaos, an unexpected event occurred. A strange signal, unlike anything the galaxy's best scientists had ever encountered, cut through the static of space. It was a simple, repeating transmission that no one could ignore. The message was clear, but cryptic. Humanity will rise. At first, no one knew what it meant. The galaxy had grown accustomed to seeing humans as a young and struggling species, barely out of their home system. Humanity had always been on the fringes of galactic politics, struggling to establish themselves among the older, more advanced species. Yet this signal spoke of something much more significant. The message repeated, growing stronger each time it was broadcast. Humanity will rise. Across the galaxy, people were puzzled. Who sent this message? Was it a plea for help or a warning? But what was most shocking was that the signal seemed to be coming from a remote part of the galaxy, a place where humans had never ventured before, far beyond their reach. The galaxy's ruling council, made up of the leaders of every major species, called an emergency meeting. Representatives from the Trevic Empire, the Velans, and the Eldorians all gathered in the council chamber, but the question on everyone's mind was the same. What did this message mean, and could humanity really be the key to stopping the invaders? "We cannot ignore this," said Grand Chancellor Ilaris of the Eldorian Empire. His voice was filled with urgency. This signal could be the answer we've been looking for. If humanity is somehow involved in the enemy's defeat, we must find them. But not everyone agreed. The Trevic Empire, one of the most powerful forces in the galaxy, was suspicious. Humans have no place in this war. They are weak, their technology primitive. How can they possibly stand against such an enemy? Lord Corrin, the Trevic leader, sneered as he spoke. "I disagree," said High Commander Xena of the Velans. Her race had always prided itself on its advanced technological knowledge, but even they had been struggling to combat the alien invaders. "We have fought countless battles, but this new enemy is unlike anything we've encountered. Perhaps humanity holds the key to their defeat. We must investigate." The council debated for hours, but in the end, they were no closer to an answer. The message continued to repeat, growing louder, more insistent. Humanity's name echoed through the minds of everyone who heard it. Humanity will rise. Across the human colonies, the message was met with confusion and fear. The leaders of Earth, Mars, and the moons of Jupiter were the first to respond, but they were also unsure of what action to take. Could it be a trap? Could it be a trick by the enemy to lure them into a false sense of hope? The humans were divided, unsure whether to trust the mysterious signal or to prepare for the worst. However, one person among the human leaders believed the signal was real and that it was humanity's chance to fight back. Commander Olivia Blackstone, a decorated war hero from Earth, knew that the galaxy could not rely on the older, more powerful species to fight this war. Humanity had survived countless challenges and emerged victorious every time. If the galaxy was to stand any chance against the invaders, humanity would have to lead the charge. "Prepare the fleet," she ordered. "We're going to find out where that signal is coming from. Humanity will not wait for someone else to save us." Her words were met with shock and disbelief. Humanity, with its limited resources and smaller fleets, was going to take on the most powerful enemy the galaxy had ever faced. But Olivia Blackstone was determined. The galaxy may have trembled in fear, but humanity would rise. There was no time to waste. The message continued to repeat, and as it did, hope began to stir across the human colonies. People, who had once been powerless in the face of the galactic powers, now felt a surge of determination. Perhaps the time had come for humanity to show its true strength. As the human fleet prepared to depart, the galaxy watched with bated breath. Could humanity really rise to the challenge? The unknown invaders were closing in, but for the first time in a long while, the galaxy dared to hope. The mysterious signal had changed everything. It had sparked something deep within humanity, a fire that could not be extinguished. The galaxy trembled, but humanity was no longer afraid. Humanity's struggle. As humanity prepared to launch their fleet in response to the mysterious signal, the mood was a mix of fear and determination. Commander Olivia Blackstone stood on the command deck of the flagship Resolute, staring out at the vastness of space. The vastness was daunting, but so was the challenge ahead. Humanity was about to face an enemy that had already wiped out entire civilizations, and their chances of survival seemed slim. Yet, in the face of overwhelming odds, the human spirit had always endured. The fleet was small, far smaller than the forces the galaxy's established empires could muster. Earth had sent its most advanced warships, but they were still far from matching the technological might of the alien invaders. The colonies on Mars and the moons of Jupiter had sent reinforcements, but it was clear that humanity was outgunned. The odds were stacked against them. However, what the human fleet lacked in numbers and technology, they made up for in something the galaxy's other species had often overlooked: their relentless will to fight and their adaptability. Humans had always been known for their ingenuity, finding ways to survive when the odds seemed impossible. This was their time to prove that their strength came not from their weapons, but from their spirit. "We're ready, Commander," said Lieutenant Jackson O'Neill, the fleet's communications officer. He handed Olivia a datapad with the latest reports. "We've gathered all available intelligence on the alien forces, and while we don't have much, we've learned that they rely heavily on their main fleet for support. If we can disrupt their supply lines, we might have a chance." Olivia nodded. "Good. We'll hit them where it hurts. If we can't win by force, we'll win by strategy." Her voice was calm, but beneath it, there was a fire that burned brighter than ever. "Send out the signal to the fleet. Everyone is to stay in formation. And remember, our first priority is survival. We may not have the strength of the galactic empires, but we have something they don't: unity." Across the fleet, humanity's soldiers prepared for battle. Every crew member knew that the coming war would be one of the hardest they'd ever fought. They would face an enemy unlike any they had ever encountered, but the drive to protect their homes, their families, and their future gave them strength. For the first time, they were united with a single goal: to defend the galaxy from the alien invaders and prove that humanity had a place in the universe. As the fleet moved toward the coordinates of the mysterious signal, tensions were high. The enemy could be anywhere. Suddenly, alarms blared on the bridge of the Resolute, signaling the arrival of an unknown fleet. The ships that appeared were sleek, dark, and ominous, just like the ones that had destroyed so many other worlds. These were the invaders, the force that had brought the galaxy to its knees. The human fleet took their positions, their weapons primed and ready. Olivia stood tall at the helm, her mind focused, her heart steady. She had trained for moments like this, but the reality was much more intense than anything she had ever prepared for. "All hands, prepare for battle," she ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding around her. The alien fleet was formidable. They didn't just rely on overwhelming firepower. They were calculated, methodical, and precise. As the first shots rang out across the void, the human ships quickly realized that the enemy was not only stronger but more advanced in almost every way. The human fleet was outmatched in technology, but they had something the enemy didn't. the ability to improvise and adapt in the heat of battle. As the battle raged on, human ships moved in unison, dodging and weaving between enemy fire, using the environment around them to gain the upper hand. The alien ships were more powerful, but humanity's fleet was faster and more flexible. The invaders were used to overwhelming their foes with sheer might, but they had never encountered a species like humanity before. Humans fought not just with weapons, but with cunning and resolve. "We're holding our own, Commander, but just barely," reported Lieutenant O'Neill, his voice filled with urgency. "Their fleet is massive. We can't keep up with this for much longer." Olivia's mind raced. They needed a strategy, and fast. "Focus on their weak points," she ordered. "We need to disrupt their supply chains. If we can knock out their communication and fuel lines, they'll be crippled." A small squadron of human ships, under the command of Captain Elias Ward, broke off from the main fleet and moved toward the heart of the alien armada. They would attempt a risky maneuver, sneaking past the enemy's defenses to strike at the invaders' supply ships and communication centers. It was a long shot, but it was their only chance. As Captain Ward's squadron made their move, the rest of the fleet kept the invaders distracted. A sudden burst of laser fire ripped through the darkness of space, and for a moment, the humans thought they were done for. But just as quickly as the attack came, the human ships adapted, evading the barrage and returning fire with pinpoint accuracy. Meanwhile, Captain Ward's squadron was making progress. Their mission was risky, and the chance of success was slim. They had no idea what they would encounter in the heart of the enemy's fleet, but they had one advantage. They were human, and humans never gave up. The clock was ticking. The battle was far from over, but humanity had proven something important in these early hours. They may have been outnumbered and outgunned, but they were not afraid. The galaxy had underestimated them, but humanity was ready to fight. This was just the beginning. The unexpected alliance. The battle raged on, and humanity's forces were still holding their ground, though the odds were growing thinner with every passing minute. The alien fleet, while initially caught off guard by humanity's cunning and adaptability, soon adjusted to the unexpected tactics and increased the pressure on the human fleet. The situation had grown dire. Ships were being lost, and morale was starting to slip. The human fleet had always been known for its resilience, but even the strongest spirits could be worn down by constant defeat. As Commander Olivia Blackstone stood on the bridge of the Resolute, watching her fleet struggle, she couldn't help but wonder if there was more they could do. They were winning battles with clever tactics, but they weren't winning the war. Time was running out, and the alien invaders were closing in. But just when it seemed like all hope was lost, a new signal came through. This one wasn't from humanity, but from somewhere far beyond their reach, deep within the outer rim of the galaxy. The transmission was clear, but the voice that came through was unlike anything the humans had ever heard. It was calm, soothing, and yet filled with an ancient power. The message was brief. "We are the Xolorians. We offer our help, but you must prove you are worthy of our trust." "Who are the Xolorians?" Olivia asked aloud, her voice a mixture of curiosity and disbelief. She had never heard of them before. They were not a name that was ever spoken in the galactic records, nor had any diplomat or scientist ever mentioned them. Yet this voice, this ancient, powerful voice, offered assistance to humanity in their time of need. The transmission continued, explaining that the Xolorians were a race of beings who had long watched over the galaxy from the shadows. They were an ancient species, older than the oldest civilizations in the galaxy, and they possessed technology and knowledge far beyond anything humanity, or even the most advanced galactic empires could comprehend. They had hidden themselves from the galaxy for centuries, watching as empires rose and fell, and they had chosen this moment to step forward. The message was cryptic, but the offer was clear. They would help humanity defeat the invaders, but only if humanity could prove itself worthy of their alliance. "We can't afford to be picky," said Olivia. "We need allies, and if they can help us, We must take the chance. Prepare for communication with them. Let's see what they want in exchange for their aid." The human fleet paused for a moment, unsure of what to make of this unexpected offer. The Trivic Empire, who had long been skeptical of humanity's place in the galaxy, were quick to dismiss the idea. "This is absurd," Lord Corrin, the Trivic leader, declared. "How can we trust such an unknown force? If they were truly powerful, why have they stayed hidden for so long?" But Commander Xena of the Velans, who had seen the potential of humanity from the very beginning, saw this as a glimmer of hope. "We don't have the luxury of time, Corrin," she said sharply. "If they can help, we must accept their offer. We have no other choice." After a tense debate, the Council reluctantly agreed to open negotiations with the Xalorians. The human fleet, under Olivia's leadership, would make first contact. As the human ships moved toward the coordinates of the Xalorian transmission, they were met with an overwhelming sight. A massive otherworldly structure emerged from the void, unlike anything anyone had ever seen. It was not a ship, but a colossal space station, floating silently in the darkness, surrounded by a field of strange energy. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The Xalorians had clearly mastered technologies that were far beyond human understanding. A voice echoed through the communication system, this time not from the mysterious transmission, but from a being who appeared on the view screen. The figure was humanoid but radiated an aura of immense power. Its skin shimmered with iridescent light, and its eyes gleamed with ancient wisdom. "We are the Xalorians," the being said, its voice calm and authoritative. "You have shown great courage in the face of overwhelming odds. But courage alone is not enough. To earn our aid, you must prove that humanity is worthy of standing among the stars." Olivia stood before the screen, her heart pounding. The pressure was immense. This was the moment that would determine humanity's fate. She knew that if they failed, they would be left to face the alien invaders alone, without the help of this powerful new ally. But she also knew that this was the only chance they had. "We don't have much to offer, but we have something that you might respect," Olivia said firmly. "We have determination. We have the will to fight. We may not have the most advanced technology, but we have the heart to stand against any enemy, and we'll prove that humanity deserves to be here." The Xalorian's gaze seemed to soften just slightly. "Very well," it said. "We will test your resolve. If you succeed, we will lend you our strength. But fail, and you will stand alone against the darkness." The test was set. The Xalorians would send humanity into a trial, a battle against a simulated enemy force designed to test humanity's ability to adapt, improvise, and survive. The stakes were high. The outcome of this test would determine whether humanity would receive the Xalorians' help or be left to face the invaders on their own. As the human fleet prepared for the trial, the tension was palpable. This was not just a battle for survival. It was a test of humanity's place in the galaxy. Would they prove themselves worthy of the Xalorians' aid, or would they fall short and be doomed to face the invaders alone? The future of the galaxy now rested on the shoulders of humanity. The first clash. The human fleet stood poised, ready to face the trial set forth by the Xalorians. Tensions were high. Every officer and soldier aboard the human ships knew this was their one shot at proving humanity's worth. The Xalorians had given them a chance. No, a test. And now the time had come to show that humanity wasn't just another species to be swept aside by the invaders. They had to succeed. Commander Olivia Blackstone paced the bridge of the Resolute, her mind running through the plan for the trial. The Xalorians had created a simulated enemy force, alien ships similar to the ones humanity had been battling. But these were no mere simulations. They were sophisticated holograms, built to mimic the behavior and tactics of the real alien invaders. It was a test of strategy, adaptation, and most importantly, courage. "We can do this," Olivia muttered to herself. She had always believed in humanity's ability to adapt and outsmart their enemies. They had already demonstrated that in the first battle with the invaders. But this time, the stakes were much higher. The Solarians weren't just watching. They were judging. "Commander, we're ready," reported Lieutenant Jackson O'Neill, his voice steady but laced with tension. "The fleet is in position. The simulation will begin shortly." Olivia took a deep breath and nodded. "Let's make it count." The simulation began with a sudden jolt. The stars around them seemed to shift, and the vast emptiness of space was replaced by the looming silhouettes of the enemy fleet. This time, it was not just one or two ships, but a full armada, more than humanity had ever faced. The alien ships shimmered with an eerie glow, their weapons aimed directly at the human fleet. "We've seen this before," said Captain Elias Ward, the leader of one of the human battle groups. "We know their tactics. We know their weaknesses. We just have to outsmart them." The enemy opened fire, and the human fleet immediately moved into formation, dodging and returning fire with everything they had. The first few minutes were intense, a cacophony of blinding light, and the sound of laser fire cutting through the darkness. The human ships, although smaller and less equipped than their enemies, fought with speed and agility. They relied on their maneuverability and quick thinking, qualities the larger, more cumbersome alien ships lacked. Olivia watched the battle unfold on the view screen, her heart racing. The simulation was realistic, too realistic. She could feel the weight of each decision, each move, pressing down on her. The human fleet was holding its ground, but it was clear they would need to do more than just survive the initial assault. This wasn't about brute force. This was about outwitting the enemy at every turn. "Focus on their command ships," Olivia ordered. "Take out their leaders, and the rest will fall apart." The humans had learned from their previous encounters with the invaders. The alien ships were powerful, but their strength relied on coordination and control. By disrupting the command structure, humanity could weaken the entire fleet. Captain Ward's squadron launched a daring assault on one of the alien command ships, weaving through a hail of enemy fire. It was a suicide mission, but humanity had nothing to lose. If they could take out the command ship, they could turn the tide of the battle. "Captain, you've got incoming fire from the left," shouted Lieutenant O'Neill. "Get out of there." But Captain Ward didn't hesitate. "No, we keep going. This is our chance." With expert precision, Ward's squadron dropped out of light speed, moving at full throttle toward the command ship. They fired their weapons in a well-coordinated burst, targeting the weak points in the alien ship's defenses. The command ship exploded in a flash of light, and for a moment, everything went silent. The other alien ships seemed to falter, disoriented by the loss of their command center. But just as it looked like victory might be within reach, the simulation shifted. New, more advanced alien ships materialized, far beyond anything humanity had encountered. These ships were faster, more heavily armed, and far more deadly than anything they had fought before. "It's not over yet," Olivia muttered under her breath. "Keep fighting. We can do this." The human fleet wasn't ready to give up. They fought with everything they had, adapting quickly to the new threat. Olivia's command was relentless, her fleet moving in tight formations and taking advantage of every opening the enemy left behind. The battle was fierce, but humanity's determination shone through. They were not just fighting for survival, they were fighting for a place in the galaxy. The simulation lasted for what felt like hours, but finally, the last alien ship fell, and the simulated battlefield fell silent. The human fleet had done it. They had won the battle. But as the lights on the Resolute dimmed and the tension in the air lifted, there was no cheer or celebration. The Solarian's voice came through once again, their tone neutral, but with an undercurrent of respect. "You have passed the test, humans," the Solarian said. "You have proven your worth. Your determination, adaptability, and courage have impressed us. We will lend you our strength in the coming war." A wave of relief washed over Olivia and her crew. The Solarians had agreed to help, but as the fleet took a moment to regroup, they knew this was just the beginning. The battle for the galaxy was far from over. The real enemy, the alien invaders, were still out there, and they would be coming for humanity with even more force than before. The test was over, but the war was just beginning. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, but now they had to prove they could hold it. The turning point. After the human fleet's triumph in the simulated battle, the Solarians honored their promise. Their vast knowledge and advanced technology were now at humanity's disposal. For the first time, the galaxy's empires began to look at humanity not as the underdog, but as a formidable ally. The Solarians provided humanity with new weapons, energy shields, and advanced strategies that could turn the tide against the alien invaders. But even with these new advantages, the real challenge remained ahead. The human fleet, now bolstered by Solarian technology, was preparing for their first true test against the alien invaders. Commander Olivia Blackstone stood on the command deck of the Resolute, staring out at the vastness of space. Her mind raced as she thought of the task ahead. The alien fleet was still out there, and the coming battle would be unlike anything humanity had faced before. "We have the power to win this, Commander," said Lieutenant Jackson O'Neill, his voice filled with quiet confidence. "The Solarians have provided us with everything we need to defeat them." Olivia nodded, but the weight of responsibility was heavy on her shoulders. "It's not just about the weapons. It's about what we do with them. We have to be smart. Our advantage isn't in firepower alone. It's in how we use our tactics and our unity." The fleet was ready, but as the final preparations were made, something unexpected happened. A lone scout ship, operating on the edge of the human-controlled space, sent a distress signal. It had come under attack by a small group of alien ships, nothing compared to the full strength of the invader fleet, but significant enough to draw attention. The scout ship's crew reported that they had spotted something horrifying. The invaders were building a massive weapon, a doomsday device capable of wiping out entire planets in a single strike. The news was a game-changer. If the invaders had already begun construction of such a weapon, humanity's time was running out. The device would tip the balance of power in the galaxy and render all efforts to resist futile. The Solarians had shared with humanity a general location where this weapon was being developed, a heavily fortified space station in a distant sector of the galaxy. It was a place no one had dared to approach, as it was surrounded by a powerful fleet of alien warships. "This is it," Olivia said, her voice unwavering. "We need to strike at the heart of the enemy's power. We can't afford to wait any longer." But there was a problem. The station was protected by a nearly impenetrable force field, and the alien fleet stationed nearby was formidable. To reach the station, humanity's fleet would need to slip through enemy lines and find a way to disable the force field long enough to launch a full-scale attack. It was a suicide mission, but Olivia knew it was the only chance they had. "We're going to do this together," she said, addressing her crew. "The Solarians have given us the tools, but we still need the courage and the strategy to succeed. This will be our turning point. We either stop the weapon or we lose everything." The plan was set. Captain Elias Ward, who had proven himself time and time again, was chosen to lead the stealth team. His squadron of ships would take a dangerous route through the heart of the alien fleet, using their newfound Solarian tech to avoid detection. They would need to disable the force field protecting the station, allowing the main fleet to make their move. The human fleet was split into two groups. The first group, led by Olivia, would move in from the other side of the system, distracting the alien forces and drawing them away from Captain Ward's squadron. The second group, led by Ward, would make their way toward the station and find a way inside. The timing had to be perfect, and there could be no mistakes. If one ship failed, the entire operation could collapse. As the fleet began its journey, the tension was palpable. Humanity had proven itself in battle before, but this was different. The stakes were higher. Failure would mean not just the loss of their fleet, but the annihilation of their colonies, their homes, and their future. The two fleets moved into position, and for a brief moment, It seemed as if the universe itself held its breath. Captain Ward's squadron began its silent trek through the heart of the enemy lines. Their ships were equipped with cloaking technology provided by the Xelorians, and they moved with precision, avoiding enemy patrols and getting closer to the heart of the alien defense. Back on the Resolute, Olivia watched as the first wave of alien ships approached her fleet. The time for distraction had come. "All ships, engage," she commanded. The battle that erupted was fierce. The alien ships swarmed forward, their weapons flaring as they targeted humanity's fleet. But Olivia's ships were ready. They fought with a new sense of purpose, moving in coordinated patterns and using their new Xelorian technology to outmaneuver the enemy. The alien ships were powerful, but they were no match for the ingenuity and unity of humanity. In the midst of the chaos, Captain Ward's squadron reached the station. Their cloaking devices had allowed them to slip through the enemy's defenses, but they couldn't hold the advantage forever. They had to disable the force field quickly. The plan was risky. One of Ward's ships was already damaged, and their window of opportunity was closing fast. "We're at the station's perimeter," Ward reported over the comms. "Initiating force field shutdown now. Stand by." The tension was unbearable. If Ward's team failed, Olivia and her fleet would be left to face the full wrath of the enemy. And yet, in that moment, humanity's will to survive burned brighter than ever. The enemy had underestimated them, and now they would see what humanity was truly capable of. The countdown began. Would Captain Ward succeed? Would humanity take the first real step toward defeating the invaders? The final battle. The tension in the air was palpable as Captain Elias Ward's squadron hovered just outside the heavily fortified space station. The force field protecting the station was flickering, but it was still operational. The countdown was almost up, and they only had minutes to complete the mission. "Shields are holding," reported Lieutenant Harlow, one of Ward's senior officers. "The field should drop any second now. We're ready." Ward clenched his fists, his eyes fixed on the massive, imposing structure before him. It was the heart of the enemy's power, the weapon that could destroy entire planets with a single strike. If they failed, this would mark the end of humanity and the galaxy as they knew it. There was no turning back. "Commander," Ward said into his comms, "we're in position. We need you to keep them distracted for a little longer. The shields will drop in 2 minutes, and then we'll go for the core." Olivia's voice crackled over the comms, calm but filled with purpose. "Hold tight, Captain. We've got your back." Back on the Resolute, Olivia was commanding the main fleet, now engaged in one of the fiercest battles they had ever fought. The alien fleet had thrown everything they had at the human forces, trying desperately to keep them from reaching the space station. But humanity wasn't backing down. Their new Xelorian technology gave them the upper hand in terms of firepower and shields, and they used it strategically. They moved in coordinated waves, luring the alien ships away from the station while keeping their own forces intact. "We've got to draw them out more," Olivia said, her eyes never leaving the battlefield. "Keep them on the defensive. Hold their attention. Captain Ward's squadron is depending on us." As the main human fleet engaged the alien forces, the enemy's retaliatory strikes grew fiercer. The alien ships were massive and formidable, their weapons capable of devastating anything in their path. But humanity fought with a determination that was unmatched. The new alliance with the Xelorians had changed the course of the battle, but it was humanity's relentless will to survive that was proving to be the real weapon. On the other side of the battlefield, Ward's squadron prepared for the critical moment. The force field around the station flickered and then dropped, revealing the massive structure in all its terrifying detail. Now was their chance. The squadron moved in quickly, their cloaking devices disabled for the moment, as they were now too close to the station to remain hidden. "Lock onto the core and fire everything we've got," Ward barked. The squadron unleashed a barrage of weapons at the heart of the station, the concentrated firepower aimed directly at its vulnerable core. The alien defenses quickly responded, launching waves of laser fire that scorched the space around the human ships. A few of Ward's ships were hit, but they pushed forward, knowing that this mission would either save or doom them all. Meanwhile, on the Resolute, Olivia could see the battle growing more intense. Their enemies weren't going down without a fight. But there was something else. The alien fleet was beginning to falter. The sudden loss of one of their most powerful stations had sent ripples through their command structure. Their coordinated attacks started to grow erratic, and there was an opening for humanity to press the advantage. "Now's our chance," Olivia shouted to her fleet. "Focus fire on their command ships. We can take them out now. Their lines are breaking." The Resolute led the charge, pushing forward with its fleet, targeting the command ships that were giving orders to the alien fleet. With each alien ship that fell, the human fleet gained more confidence, and the tide began to turn. Back near the space station, Ward's squadron continued to hammer away at the station's core. Their ships were taking damage, and the losses were mounting. But just as they were about to land the final blow, the station's defenses reacted in a final desperate attempt to protect the weapon. A surge of energy shot out from the station's core, sending a shockwave through space that rocked the human fleet. "We've got to get out of here," one of Ward's officers screamed, but Ward was already making the call. "Prepare for a retreat," Ward ordered. "We've done what we needed to do. All ships, fall back." But as the squadron began to pull away, the alien fleet closed in fast. The remaining alien ships moved in with lethal precision, desperate to eliminate humanity's forces before they could retreat. The battle was far from over. "We can't pull back now," Olivia said, watching as the human fleet continued to engage the alien ships. "If we leave, it's all for nothing. We need to finish this." The fight was brutal. The human fleet was battered, but they fought with a fierceness that left the alien forces scrambling. The new Zalorian technology was beginning to take effect. The alien ships were struggling to adapt to humanity's rapid, unpredictable tactics. With the loss of their doomsday station, the invaders' control was slipping. At the heart of the battle, Ward's squadron barely made it out alive, but they had completed their mission. The station's core was destroyed, and with it, the alien weapon. The remaining invader ships began to break apart, and without the doomsday device, their morale collapsed. "We did it," Ward said breathlessly, as his squadron limped back to join the main fleet. "We actually did it." But the real victory was only beginning. The alien invaders had been dealt a massive blow, but the galaxy knew there was still work to be done. With the help of the Xalorians and humanity's strength, the fight was far from over. Humanity's triumph. The battle was over. The vast emptiness of space, once filled with chaos, now lay eerily still. The remains of the alien fleet drifted, their once formidable ships now reduced to debris. The great space station, the heart of their doomsday weapon, was nothing more than a shattered ruin, its core destroyed, and its dark power extinguished. Commander Olivia Blackstone stood on the bridge of the Resolute, her hands clasped behind her back, staring out at the debris field that was once a threat to the galaxy. A quiet sense of triumph filled her, but it was tempered by the losses they had suffered. The human fleet had fought with everything they had, and many brave souls would not return home. The cost of victory was high, but it was a price humanity had been willing to pay. "We've done it," Lieutenant Jackson O'Neill said softly, his voice filled with awe. "We've won." Olivia nodded, but her mind was already moving to the next steps. "Yes, but this war isn't over yet. The galaxy still needs us. We've stopped the worst of it, but we need to make sure the invaders can't regroup." The Xalorians, who had stood alongside humanity in this fight, had proven their worth. Their advanced technology had helped turn the tide, but it was humanity's courage, unity, and relentless will to survive that had made the victory possible. The Xalorians had kept their word, but Olivia knew that the true strength of humanity lay in its ability to adapt and fight when everything seemed lost. Back on Earth, Mars, and the colonies scattered throughout the galaxy, word spread of the human victory. For the first time in history, the galaxy's empires and the species that had once looked down on humanity saw them not as weak, but as a power to be reckoned with. The new alliance between the humans and the Solarians marked the beginning of a new era in galactic politics. The human fleet slowly began to regroup. The damage to their ships was significant, but the morale boost was immeasurable. They had just dealt a crushing blow to an alien force that had seemed unstoppable. Humanity had faced their darkest hour and emerged victorious. But the galaxy was not at peace yet. There were still pockets of alien resistance scattered throughout the galaxy, and many questions remained unanswered. "We have secured our place in the galaxy," Olivia said to her crew, her voice filled with determination. "But we must remain vigilant. The invaders may be broken, but others may rise in their place. We must continue to stand strong. For our colonies, for our people, and for the future." Her words resonated throughout the fleet. The galaxy had witnessed humanity's resilience, and it was clear that humanity had earned its place in the stars. The galaxy had trembled in fear, but humanity had stood tall. And now, they had shown that when pushed to the edge, they would fight back, not just for their survival, but for the survival of the galaxy itself. The Solarians, though ancient and powerful, knew that they had found a worthy ally in humanity. Their final message to Olivia was simple, yet profound. "We will stand with you. Together, we will protect the galaxy from the shadows that still linger." As the Resolute and the rest of humanity's fleet moved into a new phase of reconstruction, Olivia stood on the bridge, gazing out into the vastness of space. There would be no rest for them, no moment to simply relax. The galaxy had been saved for now, but there was still much to be done. There would be other battles, other threats, and other challenges ahead. But for the first time, humanity wasn't afraid. The galaxy may have trembled in fear, but humanity had risen, and with that rise, they had forged their place in the stars. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: humanity would face whatever came next with the same resolve, strength, and unity that had carried them to victory.